Hello, my name is Sean McCarthy and welcome to this e-training course on Horizon 2020. Now Horizon 2020 is the name of the European Union programme that will run between 2014 and the end of 2020. Now in this presentation I'm going to give an overview of the difference between Framework 7 and Horizon 2020. Now this is part of an overall programme that we deliver, and my plan is to put all these modules online so people can watch them. Now the first section we'll look at is the difference between Framework 7 and Horizon 2020. Now Framework 7 is the name of the current European Union research programme, and it ran between 2007 and 2013. There was another programme called the Competitiveness and Innovation Programme, and another initiative called the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. Now these three are being brought together into a new programme called Horizon 2020, so that's why they're not calling it Framework 8. Now another change that's happening in 2014 is they want more interface between Horizon 2020 and other European programmes like the Structural Funds, LIFE programme, Erasmus and so on. Now to do that, they have to design a new type of funding scheme so that all the programmes have the same type of grants. Another change in 2014 will be there will be more links between the European funding and national funding. Now the terminology they're using to describe national bodies coming together is called joint programming. Now, so from a philosophical point of view, there is a change in thinking between what we have now and what we will have in 2014. But the good news is that at a programme level, where scientists submit proposals, there won't be that major change between what we have today and what exists. Now, when you go to Brussels, at the top of the triangle, you have the politicians. These are the European Council, the European Parliament. Then you have the European Commission, and these are the civil servants. They're responsible for the day-to-day running of European affairs. And then, of course, we have the researchers. Now, politicians and the Commission, they prepare something called policy. And the main policy in Brussels today is called the EU 2020 strategy. And this is divided into 7 flagships, which I'll present. Now, policy is about the future. It's about 2025, 2030, and what are the challenges that will face Europe in the future? Things like energy security, ageing society, global competition. And if they identify, say, for example, energy security as a big challenge for Europe, they then decide, let's put money into research on this. They identify ageing, they identify job creation. All of these are challenges. So you never go to Brussels saying, give me money for my project. You go to Brussels and say, give me money and we'll address the challenge that you've identified. Now in this slide you'll see a website called Europa.eu. This is where you find all of the relevant European policies. So the first thing we say to scientists is to Google Europa.eu and your research field, for example, diabetes or photovoltaics or whatever. Now, the debate on Horizon 2020 started officially on the 30th of November 2011. It's currently a debate between the politicians and the European Commission. And sometime in the middle of 2013, the Council and the Parliament will adopt Horizon 2020. What will happen next is that the European Commission then will take the programme and start writing work programmes. And on the 1st of January 2014, these calls for proposals will be published. Now, when the Commission is making the policy, and with the Parliament and the Council, and especially when the Commission is writing the programme, they consult researchers. Now, in America, this is called lobbying. In Europe, it's a much more open system. It's where they invite people to the table to say, look, we're spending 8 billion or whatever on ICT, information and communication technologies. Where exactly should we put that money? So one of the modules I look at is how to participate in the decision-making process, or what other people like to call it is how to lobby. Now, in the debate at the moment, there are actually 2 debates. There's one debate about where exactly will we put the money, and there's another debate about what will the rules be, which countries can participate, how much money can we get, what are the rules on intellectual property, and this then will be the basis of the grants. Now, you must remember, these are two very, very distinct debates. And a lot of people focus more on the rules, where if you're an advisor, you need to say, am I giving advice on the rules or am I giving advice on the contents? Now, in Brussels, they think at 4 levels. This is at the political level. Research for the benefit of the citizen, activities to help the regions, activities to help industrial sectors, and of course, Europe's role on the international stage. Now, in Luxembourg, there's an organisation called Eurostat, and they collect all the official statistics of Europe, and there's an organisation in Paris called the OECD, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, and they analyse all of the data to identify what challenges will Europe have in the future. And they identify things like cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, aging society, people outside of the internet, and they make priorities and they identify where should we put the research. There are regional activities. Now, this is mainly addressed by structural funds so that all the regions in Europe can be equal, because some regions are less developed than the others. Now, the next one is how Europe appears on the international stage in the area of business. So here we have aeronautics, robotics, the food industry, the energy industry, and they try to identify where Europe should lead. Now, they have this concept called lead markets. For example, wireless technology is an area where Europe is leading, grid computing, some renewable energies, and they're trying to identify areas where Europe could be the leader. Now, they've identified a number of areas, so if you're writing your proposal and you fit into some of these areas, they love your proposal. Now, in Framework 7, something new happened. A new challenge was identified. It was called the scientific challenge. So when the politicians on the Commission are debating policy, these are the kind of challenges they look at. So in Horizon 2020, they've put in a pillar called societal challenges, which I will look at. There are structural funds for regional development. However, regions are also looking at this concept of smart specialisation, and that's the link between Horizon 2020 and the regional funds. To look at the economic challenges, they've set up a pillar called industrial leadership, and to look at scientific challenges, they have a pillar called excellent science. Now, across all the programmes, they want researchers in Europe to be able to operate at international levels. So you're going to see a strong international dimension to the programmes. So let's have a look at the first pillar. Now, this is what's being proposed. There's a programme on health, food, energy, transport, climate, and the last programme looks like being divided into 2 sub-programmes, one dealing with social science and humanities and the other dealing with security. Now, this is very, very similar to what we had in Framework 7. In the Industrial Leadership Programme, we have an ICT programme, nanotechnologies, materials and production, which was known as the NMP programme, biotechnology space. And again, these were exactly similar to the programs that existed in Framework 7. In Horizon 2020, there's a new program called Innovation for SMEs, and this is focusing on small companies with growth potential. Now, there was a program in Framework 7 called Research for the Benefit of SMEs, and that is gone. And in the SIP program, there was money for venture capital, and you can see that that's now brought into the Horizon 2020 program. So this is giving money to venture capital companies and banks to invest in startup high potential growth companies. In 2009, the European Union set up an expert group to look at what are known as the key enabling technologies. So these 6 technologies are going to get a lot of attention in the industrial leadership program. So if any of these areas are relevant to you, it's important to have a look at the Hyperion website on the kits. The Innovation in SME program is going to look at, as I said, high potential growth companies, and they're following a model which is an American model called SBIR. But I won't dwell on that. Well, I'll cover that on in a later module. Now, in the excellent science pillar, we have the ERC, European Research Council, which looks at fundamental research. In Framework 7, in the ICT program, there was a topic called FET. and that is now becoming a program of its own, famous for crazy ideas, real radical innovation. The Marie Curie programs, which is looking at career development, is continuing, and the research infrastructure program, which was in Framework 7, is also continuing. So in summary, we have the industrial leadership program, and the budget, of course, is still being debated. The societal challenges program, the excellent science. Now, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology is an institution, and in the presentation that I'll give, I have a separate module just dealing with EIT. Euratom looks at nuclear radiation and fusion. And the European Commission has 7 institutes of their own called the Joint Research Centres, and this program is for them. So that was a short introduction, and this is the type of course that we give all over Europe. And again, I hope you enjoy it, and later on I will be putting these presentations online. So I look forward to meeting you in the future, and again, best of luck in Horizon 2020.